me this tiki, the head is missing. But I see that it has 6 fingers.
Yes, it's amazing, huh? It's mysterious just today, huh? It's for that reason the archaeologue nothing what's that, huh?
It's very feasible to me that they actually tried to imitate whoever visited or whoever came here to impart this knowledge. Why would they carve 6 fingers if they did not see 6 fingers? So we should not say, oh, this is just fantasy. I think they saw someone with 6 fingers. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a Taka-ii. Taka-ii is a god of power. He's a protector for the tribe here.
So these are protectors, and all the tikis here and the Moai on Easter Island are protectors as well.
Yes, from outside, from others people to came to the land, no?
So on Easter Island, you have 7 Moai.
Yeah.
They're looking towards Marquesas. Is this some ancestors or a
Yeah.
connection?
It's a connection. Because they here all tiki look in the direction of Easter Island.
All of the ancient tikis in the Marquesas are positioned to look in the direction of Easter Island. But why? And if both the Moai and the tikis are depictions of extraterrestrial visitors, why do they appear so different, both in height and appearance? Is it possible that the 7 brothers of legend left the Marquesas for Easter Island because they were fighting with each other? Or could they have been fleeing for their lives? For Giorgio and David, these questions form the pieces of a confounding puzzle, one they are both determined to solve before they return home. While visiting the ancient site known as Iipana, located in the Marquesas Islands, local guide Imana Bono has just shown ancient astronaut theorists Giorgio Soros and David Chalmers along with sacred tiki statues which have 6 fingers on each hand.
That is very interesting to me.
He has also just informed them that the tiki gods were believed by the natives to possess an extraordinary amount of what they called mana, a spiritual power which, if consumed, would make the natives strong and virtually invincible.
So how does this tiki have mana? How does it get the mana?
You can have the mana inside the tiki or inside the human. The sacrifice because the chief of the tribe who win the war eat all that things for absorb the mana.
I see.
Eat the mana? Is Imana Bono describing a form of ritual cannibalism in which the natives of the Marquesas would eat the bodies of those who they believed possessed spiritual power?
And where is the mana contained? The mana is coming out of the eyes, right? Or
Eyes, the tongue, the liver, the brain, the heart.
so they would eat the eyes and the tongue.
My ancestor was no cannibal. They was anthropophage. It's very different because cannibal is for eat the human all times. My ancestor was anthropophage.
Is it possible that the natives of the Marquesas Islands believed that the mana, or spiritual power, of their tiki gods could be literally consumed? If so, was their eagerness to eat the organs, not only of the tiki, but of their offspring, one of the chief reasons why the so-called 7 brothers fled the Marquesas for Easter Island thousands of years ago?
Here there are very large boulders of basalt. It's very heavy. I know in some places in Polynesia and Micronesia they have legends that the stones are flying through the air.
Oh no, here it's the land of men. Ancestor was very powerful. They keep the rocks and put on the elbows in the past.
So they are giants and very strong, and they can lift these big stones.
We found inside the caves near the crest in the mountain some bones, very, very long.
Giant bones found in caves on the Marquesas Islands? Could this be the evidence Giorgio and David have been searching for?
megalithic sites in all of Europe that allegedly were built by the giants. The giants were offspring of the gods after they mated with human women. Then you have stories of the giants on Sardinia, many of whom have been suggested were originated by extraterrestrials. The origin story of the giants in the Bible is that angels mated with human women. The offspring were the giants.
So we have to wonder, are the seven sentinels actually giants? Part alien and part human? Perhaps they were escaping Marquesas Islands because they were the ruling elite. And essentially they were overthrown because they had this power. And they went to Easter Island. Hi, Martin. It's been so interesting here. You had such good information. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing.
Could it be that the so-called seven princes of the Marquesas were giant, alien, human hybrids? Hybrids who may have had access to extraterrestrial technologies that caused them to be thought of by the natives as kings or gods. And if so, could it be that the real reason these seven brothers left the Marquesas was not because they were fighting, but because they were fleeing for their lives, in fear of being killed and eaten by the natives? Ancient astronaut theorists say the answer is a profound yes, and believe that even more answers can be found, not only by examining the stone statues of Easter Island, but by also taking a closer look at what some of them are wearing on their heads. In the vast expanse of the South Pacific, Easter Island remains a land of mystery. Since its discovery by Europeans in the 18th century, very little is still known about the people who once lived there, their origins. One of all the mysteries involving the island, otherwise known as Rapa Nui, the most persistent, involve the nearly 900 megalithic statues known as Moai, and why they were put here in the first place.
The Moai are considered to be no more than perhaps 1,000 years old. However, it has been established that some of them penetrate down into the ground by a great amount of feet to reveal the rest of the body, not just the oversized head. And the amount of patination suggests that they are infinitely older than 1,000 years and could go back many, many, many millennia. When you visit Easter Island, you look at the sites there, the statues, the megalithic walls, you realise they're much older than what history tells us.
Further clouding the issue is a discovery that was made in 2017. With the help of photography and 3D modeling programs, archaeologists discovered that the 13-ton stone hats known as pukao on the Easter Island Moai contain a wide diversity of petroglyphs made by what appear to be different groups of people.
The hats that are on top of the Easter Island Moai are a little bit of a mystery. But recently, they've been analysed and carvings have been found on them, which has questioned the idea of what they really represent. Perhaps there is something else going on here. It could well be that a number of different cultures live on Easter Island. One of the most fascinating monuments on Easter Island is the stone platform or Ahom, known as Vinapa. And this is a huge megalithic construction that is essentially a wall made of cyclopean megalithic blocks that all interlock with each other. When you look at this, you cannot help but think of Cusco in Peru. And there has to be a relationship
between the two cultures. All of these part of a much bigger transmission of knowledge, where the belief, common belief, was an origin amongst the stars.
If, as ancient astronaut theorists suggest, the seven moai that face out to sea really do represent a race of giant alien hybrid beings that fled the Marquesas Islands hundreds and perhaps thousands of years ago, do the hundreds of other moai represent their offspring? And if so, could they have had contact with other parts of the world, making Easter Island a virtual hub of extraterrestrial activity?
Easter Island has also got the strong legend that it is the center of the world, or the navel of the world. And there are various places around our planet that are said to be the navel of the world. They're in Cuzco, at Delphi in Greece, at Sardinia, and in Egypt. In many cases, there's a stone ball that is marking the center of the world spot. And we have that at Easter Island. So these navels of the world are apparently power places of vortex energy. It would seem that they're all connected to this worldwide energy grid.
Why did this huge megalithic culture emerge here? And perhaps this tells us that there is some special quality with Easter Island, one that was recognised by the ancestors of the Rapa Nui culture.
Were the seven moai that face the sea positioned so as to indicate a warning to those natives on the Marquesas that wanted to hunt them and eat them for their power? Were they meant to serve as a commemoration, not only of Easter Island's extraterrestrial origins, but of the history of alien activity on our planet? As far as Giorgio Tsoukalos and David Childress are concerned, there still needs to be further investigation before those questions can be answered. Their incredible journey to the Marquesas Islands, ancient astronaut theorists Giorgio Tsoukalos and David Childress meet at a cafe on the island of Nuku Hiva. They are confident that their investigation has led to not only evidence of a direct link between the Marquesas and Easter Island, but also a greater understanding as to the kinds of beings who lived on these islands thousands of years ago.
Well, this was an incredible experience. From all the people we've talked to, these ancient civilizations are way older than what we were taught.
We have strong connections with the Marquesas to Easter Island. And the idea of a flying turtle would be what you would think of as a disc. Yes, flying.
They knew that turtles don't fly, so why would they have stories of flying turtles?
If we had airships landing here, and that the people are wondering, how do these turtles fly? And the extraterrestrials tell them, well, they fly with this energy
Syrian visitors who were once immobilized in stone. Lions hidden in plain sight.
Has a deal been done? I think we don't know the whole picture.
Joint space missions with undisclosed agendas.
Why do we not have a good HD program of whatever that big tower is? Why?
Have the United States and Russia been working together from the very beginning of the space race?
Both Russia and the US know about working extraterrestrial technology.
In preparation for the ultimate extraterrestrial encounter.
Cooperation is the only way that we can actually achieve some sort of mutual defense of the planet Earth.
Seoul, South Korea, March 26, 2012. The leaders of over 50 nations gathered for the Nuclear Security Summit, a two-day conference to discuss issues regarding the proliferation and safekeeping of nuclear weapons. During a phone call between American President Barack Obama and Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, who is soon to be replaced by then Prime Minister Vladimir Putin, the two leaders have an off-the-record conversation that raises more than a few eyebrows. But even more intriguing were recorded but not filmed comments in which President Obama told Medvedev, quote, "It's important for him to give me space," and to which Medvedev replied, "I understand your message about space."
The revelation was extraordinary. President Obama's quote was, "It's important for him to give me space." What does that mean? Some people think it simply means breathing space, space to room to move and live. But there is an interpretation that suggests he meant literally, it's important for him to give me space, outer space. Anytime you hear governments talk about space, you hear them talk about space exploration, trust me that the underlying, implied, unspoken reality behind that is the alien presence. It is possible that Russia and America, in some aspects of the space question, and maybe the extraterrestrial question, maybe they are working together after all.
Is it possible that even between two of the world's most powerful political rivals, there is a secret understanding, one based on America and Russia's past and future roles in outer space? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes. And they also believe that this secret understanding extends to numerous experiences involving extraterrestrial contact. As evidence, they point to an occasion that took place just a few months after Medvedev's now famous exchange with Barack Obama. On December 7th, 2012, after giving a primetime network interview in Moscow, Medvedev made remarks off stage which seemed to openly acknowledge the existence of extraterrestrials and the Russian government's efforts to keep that existence a secret.
Есть с передачей чемодан с ядерными кодами. Президенту страны приносят специальную папку. На ней написано «Совершенно секретно». и она целиком, полностью посвящена пришельцам, которые посетили нашу страну.
Although most of the journalists in the room believed the Russian president's remarks to have been made in jest, there were others who were not so certain.
This is one of the most dramatic statements that emanates out of Russia, and so it's fascinating. Dmitry Medvedev said, when you become president of Russia, you're given information on aliens in our country and the human groups that are monitoring them. He was totally with a straight face during all of this.
Сколько их среди нас, рассказывать не буду, потому что это может вызвать панику.
Here he is on film saying that there is a secret governmental cooperation occurring in the background that has the highest levels of classification to really monitor extraterrestrials that are visiting our planet.
Forget all the differences. Forget ideologies. At the highest level, the two nations work together. After World War II, there was a number of UFO encounters, very important encounters, and this gave impetus to joint cooperation between our nations.
Joint cooperation, even during the tension-filled decades of the Cold War? Ancient astronaut theorists believe that not only did such a secret relationship exist, but that it began several decades ago. As a consequence of what they believe to be the Soviet Union's first documented UFO encounter, an event they commonly refer to as the Russian Roswell. Southern Russia, June 19, 1948. At a remote Soviet military installation known as Kapustin Yar, an unidentified flying object is detected over the base.
Strange blips were seen on radar. Something was tracked, performing extraordinary speeds and maneuvers. And a Russian fighter jet was sent to intercept it. The pilot saw a silver cigar-shaped object and was told, shoot this thing down. It's in restricted military airspace. The UFO fired some sort of directed energy weapon, a death weapon. But before the Russian jet was down, it managed to launch a missile and shoot down the UFO. Some people have speculated this was the time that the Russians found out about extraterrestrials.
According to the myths and legends, at Kapustin Yar, they actually recovered the bodies, they were in the spacecraft itself, and it was kept there for study and reverse engineering.
We are told that there is a underground facility under Kapustin Yar, similar probably to facilities here in the States, where a full examination could be performed on the pilots of these craft.
To ancient astronaut theorists and researchers, what makes the Kapustin Yar story all the more significant is that it occurred within a year of the now infamous Roswell incident, in which a UFO reportedly crashed in the New Mexico desert sometime in June of 1947.
That took place near the only active military unit in the world that had nuclear weapons. That was the Roswell 509th Bombing Unit. And they had nukes. Similarly, over the Soviet Union, at places like Kapustin Yar, we've got significant UFO activity being reported, military engagements, just like in the United States. And I personally believe that extraterrestrials had a strong interest in the nuclear technologies that were then developing on planet Earth, which is exactly why they were there.
Could it be that both the Kapustin Yar and Roswell incidents were attempts by extraterrestrials to make contact because of mankind's recent development of nuclear weapons? But if such contact did occur, did it signal an era of secret cooperation between the world's two great superpowers? Or did it only trigger a greater degree of rivalry and competition?
In Roswell, you had the crash, you had the recovered alien bodies, but the aliens were dead. There was no way to communicate with them because they had been killed. So So we had the technology, but probably no really good idea on how to start reverse engineering it. Whereas at Ustinur, as the story goes, they not only got the spacecraft itself, but apparently there was at least one survivor of the incident. So what could the Russians possibly have learned from that alien extraterrestrial biological entity that we were not able to learn from our Roswell incident?
Why were the Russians first into space? Why did they manage to do Sputnik 1 and then send Yuri Gagarin up into orbit and leave the Americans standing? Because on paper, you'd think that the US government should have won that race, but they didn't. If the Russians got live aliens, maybe they found out something from what happened at Kapustin Yar that gave them the edge in the space race.
Is it possible that the Soviet Union gained a strategic advantage in the so-called space race because of help it received from an extraterrestrial visitor? But if so, then how did the United States so quickly catch up, and some would argue, overtake them by being the first to put humans on the moon? As far as ancient astronaut theorists are concerned, the answers are easily obtained, not by examining what the two nations were each admitting to in public, but what they were doing together, in secret. July 17th, 1975.
Moscow is go for docking. Houston is go for docking. It's up to you guys.
High above the Earth, an American Apollo Command Service module docked with its Soviet counterpart, the Soyuz 19. A few hours later, the two mission